Hi everyone. I hope every one of you have noticed those small creature animation clips in LinkedIn which was so much trending, and it was posted by Creature Animation Workshop. I was so impressed by their level of quality in that animation, and I contacted them to know more about the workshop and all these things. I felt interesting and I thought of sharing this with the community. I spoke with Danu and he agreed to do a podcast with us. So today's podcast we have Danu with us speaking about his career, his work and all about the workshop, which is the Creature Animation Workshop. If you people are interested to join in the workshop or to know more about the workshop, please contact Danu through the LinkedIn profile which I mentioned in the description. I wish this podcast is really helpful to all of you, and if it's helpful, please like the video by giving a thumbs up, and also comment down your thoughts and those inspiring words which can motivate me. So let's jump into the podcast. So hey guys, today we have Danu with us. You guys might have familiar with the LinkedIn animation clips of all those creatures. So he is behind all of these animation clips. So let's start the podcast. Okay. So hi Danu, how are you?
Hey man, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good too. So how are you feeling joining the podcast of Madlux VFX?
This is the first time I'm doing it, but yeah, I'm not really a structured guy. I'm just just speak through my brain. So yeah, please, if you want to edit something, please do edit.
No problem. So my first question is who are you and what do you do? This is kind of a general question which I ask everyone who is coming in my podcast. So who are you and what do you do?
That was very polite, man. Thank you. So I'm recently well, you want to begin from the beginning? Yeah, maybe. So I'm Danu Mudikoppam, and I've been in the industry for almost 15 to 16 years, I think. Like everybody, I started this journey very in a difficult manner, back in India. Back there it's you're engineer or you're a doctor or you're a lawyer or you're nobody, right? So there you go, that's where I started, and I was about to graduate as an engineer, BTech engineer, but I ran away from home and I did try to see what I like, and I really like about animation from since the beginning. I had that thing in my mind, especially Jurassic Park, and there was this animated TV series Jungle Book, right, when we were kids. We used to watch Sunday morning 9 o'clock. You just get your breakfast ready and wait for the DD1 or the Doordarshan thing, right?
Yeah, I still remember.
So that was something actually triggered my brain, holy, oh god, how did they actually do this, So probably that one, and there was so many TV series after come from school, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and you see Spider-Man 2D cartoons and DuckTales and so many things. I'm like, oh, this is really cool and stuff, So that's where it got planted in my brain, and then I started exploring that when I got into when I was 18, 19, 20. So, but back then there was not much of resources. There was a multimedia thing, and so I did join those multimedia institutions, and who they actually teach software, but nobody actually teaches the art side of animation, right? So it was a bit of a struggle. But yeah, I did run away from home and I joined these multimedia courses, and I, of course, my dad didn't actually speak to me for like almost some pretty good time, so like, because he's a black sheep in the family who says no to your dad. In Indian tradition, you don't say no to your dad, right? Because he sponsors you and he, so I'm like, why do I need to do my engineering? Because my boss son is doing engineering, my colleague daughter is doing engineering, so you should do engineering. Yeah, that's a good explanation, right? So there you go. It was like that, and then my mom. Thanks to my mom, she helped me even when I was run away from home. She helped me financially to find my thing going on. So I did found myself in learning Photoshop, web designing, Flash, and all the stuff. And somehow I got interested with 3ds Max back then. I think. From there I started doing modeling, and it was super difficult in 3ds Max back then, and then Maya came in new, and I went to Chennai to learn that software. I was actually teaching in Arena Multimedia, which I didn't know anything, and I was teaching. Really silly that. But I was actually had a computer and internet to do some R&D to find something, what is actual software is, what we can do with that, and how to learn the art of it. But again, they was explaining only the tools, not the art, right? So I went to Chennai to learn Maya. They were like, oh, this is a character animation tool. Like, oh, this is really good. Let me go and learn. So I did, learn about a bit of a modeling, and even it didn't go well. They were not actually teaching anything what I know of already. So I'm like, okay, this is not really helping for me, because I borrowed money and I put my money there, and it's not really helping me. So then I had to discontinue that, and I got a job as again faculty in Framework. No, it's Mac, I think, back then. I was teaching there on the modeling, because I was good at modeling, and then I started exploring what is animation, texturing, lighting, and all the dynamics and effects and stuff. I really got stuck my thing with animation. It struck me really well, because bringing something to life was really, I don't know, it stick with me for I really enjoyed doing that one, while I was learning it. So then I started watching some tutorials and stuff, and that's where I started exploring more and more about animation. And then I found my job in some small gaming company. It was not really as a growth, as it was too technical. I'm like, no, I don't want to be technical. I wanted to learn something animation. So then I joined DQ. So that's where it was like a bit of it's like a factory. They were like throwing the shots like turning over. I'm like, oh no, it's like but actually it did really help me to pick up the speed of animation. And there was still again, there were not many people who were teaching what is what, so there is not, there was a good seniors. There was a transition back then. People are the 2D was dying, they call the 2D was dying. They want to jump into 3D, right? So that was the time. I know 3D software, but the 2D guys doesn't know 3D software. So there was my lead who was really good at 2D animation. So he actually taught me all the 3D, like all the 12 principles of animation and all the overlap, anticipation. Wow, there is anticipation. What is anticipation? Oh, there's an overlap. Oh, this guy knows a lot, but he did actually train me. I used to take him to the pub, and get him drunk, and I treat him well, and he would treat me. He would teach me other day morning, So it was like that, trade-off like that, and that's how I learned. That's when I really enjoyed my art there. Okay, so I'm really happy to bring those things life. And I was just jumping around, and finally I end up with Itna. We were one of the best studio back then. People from Crest, people from Prana, everybody was there, like that's one of the best studio. Like, okay, so what next after this? After Itna, I was just thinking like there is no chance for me to work in movie industry in India, because nobody was getting any movies, only TV series or DVD, right? So that's when I realized, okay, this is not really helping me, and I need to improve my skills, and I need to work on those big movies. So I had gathered all my shots and put it online. I just upload everywhere around the world. Wherever who says animator, just upload everywhere. So somehow there's a company from UK got me. They got to see my reel, and they said, hey, your work is looking really nice. You might fit our profile, and you want to come and you want to come and work for us. I'm like, yeah, why not? And they gave us tests, and they gave me tests. So I did the test like within 15 days, and they gave me 3 tests, and I make sure that it should not, they shouldn't reject me. So I did like really long tests and make sure that I have to impress them at any cost. So that's how powerfully, like, that's how desperately I did the test.
Yeah,
to go
understood.
abroad. So yeah, there you go. So I went, I got the job there, and then I realized, okay, I can go and work in movies now after working here 6 months, 1 year. I got locked with my visa and stuff. So there you go. So I did my 5 years time in that company just to get my visa, and I did really enjoyed a lot in games for like a 2.5 years. After that, it became too technical. I'm like, okay, what's next? I'm just waiting to get my job into VFX, and yeah, after as soon as I get that one, yeah, jump into VFX, and yeah, I did work with MPC, ILM, Framestore, DNEG, and I came back to ILM. So worked with some like animals, dinosaurs, and robots fighting, like all sort of like CG stuff, with the in VFX, and yeah, I really enjoy doing that. I really happy that I actually made my dream possible, and dream come true, or all these bad ways of animating, and but somehow, like, yeah, I made it to VFX, and I really enjoyed my almost like 6 years of working with there, and now I'm like, what's next? I'm already getting bored of like doing the same thing again and again. But of course, so this is when I thought of getting into AR VR technologies and trying to do the same thing over there as well. And then while I was in this process, I did some really good shots, and I have a bit of a fan base in Vimeo and YouTube, so they used to tell me like, hey man, can you give me feedback? And I used to give them feedback properly. So some people would come back, some people would never come back to me like, this guy is a mental fellow, you can't really do this kind of animation. So yeah, there you go. They used to, some people who did really, my feedback really helped them, and they actually got job into VFX and stuff. They were like, hey, actually, why don't you think start some course or something, you can train the whole subject rather just giving a feedback. And yeah, that was the time I was also thinking I should do something else as well at the same time. Yeah, that's where I started with my 3 students. They are my lab rats. I did experiment with them. So 2 of them ended up in London, sorry, in UK, and 1 of them in Canada. So that's when I realized, okay, this is actually working as well. So then I actually, my first student was my wife, so I trained her as well, because she's also freelancing gaming animator before, and
nice.
so she wanted to come to VFX and work with with me. So then I'm like, okay, like, you got to give me 6 months of your time, trust me, your reel doesn't work. And then it took me like 8 months for her to like get all the shots ready, and then try to tweak her reel completely to VFX, because the whole London is full of VFX. So there is no animated feature much back then. Maybe now I think there are 1 or 2, I think, I'm not really sure, but yeah, that's how she got. And then I applied the same principle to my students, and it did really work well. So based on that, I actually have created a whole model of workshops, like how any person can get in, like what kind of shots they should have, what kind of skills they should be showing to the recruiters or VFX supervisor to get into, to animation supervisor to get into the job and stuff. So yeah, that's how I did that, and that's how I made the course. And yeah, the first batch student works are released online, and it did really go very well. And yeah, I think I let the work speak for itself, rather me saying, hey, I have started animation school, do you want to come and join? Like, who the hell is this guy, So instead of doing that, I just let my work, my student work speak, and my student showcase, did really went viral, and people loved it. And from there, yeah, there's no stopping after that. Yeah, that's how.
Congrats, man. That's awesome.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I just want to know, like, why you left your job in ILM as an animator, and to take the role of a trainer. So is there any specific reason?
Right, that's a good question, man. Thank you. Well, first thing, I haven't left my job, but I'm in a break with ILM, or from the VFX a little bit, because we recently had a baby girl, and now she's not recent anymore. She's a monster right now, little monster running around.
many congrats on that.
I really I've been chasing for my career for so long. I thought like maybe I'll just take a break and give the time to this is the time to spend with family, because it's a really beautiful age to spend with my daughter. So I'm actually spending with her, and I wanted to control my time as well at the same time. And it's been too long. I've been working with the VFX with the stressful areas like deadlines and stuff, but one thing with us is we really enjoy doing that. Once you see your name on the screen, once you see somebody uploading your shots, you are like,
Yeah.
I don't care what production, stress me
I
out,
understand.
or how things went really bad or good, and how many late nights. It doesn't really care, because we love what we do, and that's what our thing is, right? And yeah, so I've been doing it for long, and now after working with Ready Player One with Spielberg and Michael Bay on Transformers, and
nice.
Aladdin and Star Wars, I'm really had some really great contribution that I did to those movies. So I'm really happy about that. Now I'm like, we always talk in VFX industry, right? Like in the pubs or in the coffee, or my soup always tap my shoulder, like, hey, you want to come and see this reel? So what do you think about this reel? Do you think we can hire him? What shots do you like, and what good things you really like about this one? I would we see the reels, and then we talk about that in the coffee break. Like, I like that guy because of that particular shot, I like this guy because of that particular shot. And we always think that there is a bit of a gap from regular animation schools or other workshops, or guys coming from other parts of the industry, like games, movies. They're all animators, they can actually animate, but there's a slight bit of a gap, where VFX people think they have to train them a little bit, or let them get used to the whole plates, and working with the plates, or working with the natural feeling to get out of the animals, and to make them animate, which is something close to the realistic. They train them a bit more, and there's a bit of a gap I found, and we always talk about that. So then I thought, maybe let me fill the try to fill that gap a bit, my contribution towards that, to fill the gap between where somebody passed out of their experience and working with VFX. So I really felt like maybe there is a bit of a gap. I can help fill as many people I can. So I trained them, and that was the main reason for me to start the CAW. Was I try to train them in a way where VFX workflow, how we actually do in a day-to-day job. Like if you get assigned a shot, so how do you pick the shot, and how do you show the references for approval, and how we start from there, the blocking, and to the final polish pass. So how we follow the procedure. I'm actually teaching the same thing to my students, like same workflow basically. So that's where that's where I started, and that was the idea basically. And then it went on really successful, and it's been like three show reels came out of CAW, and they're all really 3-4 I think. They are all really working really well, and everybody loved them. And I do get some really good feedback from my old friends from, they're all leads and soups in different companies right now. They're like, man, you're doing really good job. And there's some of my friends didn't like me, because I'm actually creating competition for them. It seems they're like, hey man, you're actually creating a competition, you shouldn't do this. Now, of course they were joking, but
all of a sudden
I'm really happy that I'm actually got this opportunity to actually add value to other people's life. And because they've been trying to get into VFX, because VFX is something you see more rejections in the so they're like, oh, your reel is not really good enough. And so I come in there, I kind of train them to have what kind of shots, if you have in your reel, to get into, you can get very easily job there. So I train them in a particular area, and this is a small niche, right? Not too many people, to be honest. This is where I come in, and then I train my guys, and I really feel happy that I have helped so many people. Now it's almost almost 40 students I think have passed out from CAW, and almost 80 to 85% of them placed in really good companies. And recently we had quite a good placements in MPC, not MPC, technical group is MPC and Mr. X and everybody, right? So the small company group, right? So 5 of them got selected, even 5 of them are actually still talking to them. So it's a really huge success for they actually picked up all of them from CAW, which is, they found they are really interesting candidates who showed their skills in the creature area, and in the VFX area, right? So which is, I'm really proud of that. They actually really like our students, and they actually grab them real quickly as soon as they come out of the workshop. So good,
and the animations are so realistic, man. I should tell this, because I used to see those clips in LinkedIn, and I used to wonder how realistic these animations are.
Thank you, man. Thank you. That's something what I really like, like to push in with this workshop, and that's what we actually do in VFX studios like ILM or MPC or Framestore. We really look forward to have these kind of quality shots in the reel. Like every animator, let's say he come to an average quality, and they say like, hey, you know what, I liked my shots, I'm really happy with it, I'm gonna like, you know, call it as done. And then there are other kind of animators where they actually push the shot to really that extra mile to add those minor details where you don't see the details, you know, you feel those details. After a particular point, you don't see any broad stroke difference in the shot, but you can feel the subtleties, which brings that extra element, extra love,
extra reality,
where you feel more natural or close to realism. You know, we see those kind of guys, and that's what we follow in VFX. That extra element, what you're going to bring in there to make it look even more realistic, right? So that is the main goal for me to teach in my workshop is, you know, you could be workshop 0, 0, 1, 2 or 3, doesn't matter. I mean, you could be junior, senior, you know, your lead, doesn't matter. But the quality is what matters in VFX. The same thing here, the quality is matters from my student, you know, whoever passes from CAW, they should know how to able to produce that kind of quality. Otherwise, there's no point of me doing this CAW or, you know, anything. So, yeah, that's my goal.
So let's suppose if I'm an animator working in XYZ company, so if I took this course like Creature Animation Workshop, what transformation will it give to my career and my work, like after completion of this workshop?
Well, that's a good question actually. So what I'm saying, I mean, like, you know, I'm not really sure what transformation is gonna bring, but I can assure you, you're gonna go out as a really good animator with great skills of art behind of every movement of the creature. Here, like most of the, you know, training divisions or like, you know, though they actually teach the tools, they actually teach Maya, and you know, so what I'm trying to force here is like trying to get the artistry behind the, you know, every movement of the creature basically. And again, if you, I mean, like, you know, this is something it's not really what you call, like, you know, it's kind of a small niche there, you know. VFX, I'm only focusing on VFX animation mainly. So if you could be, if you're from games, you're from TV, if you're from DVD movies, or if you're from you're a junior animator, or you're from past some other animation schools, so you, if you really wanted to join and learn, you know, this kind of a creature animation or something realistic animation, which we use in mostly in VFX, so if you really looking for that kind of animation, so this is definitely for you. And this is something, it's very difficult to find outside also to learn these kind of skills in VFX. Generally animation, yeah, you might find really other animation schools and stuff, but this is something exclusive for, you know, typical VFX. And so basically just that, like, you know, I'm gonna train the guys how to observe the reference and how to bring the essence of the particular animal into your animation. So what is the process behind that? How can you actually bring the, you know, essence in the reference and to your you know, animal or creature you're animating, and how what kind of elements makes your animation looks much more natural and realistic or close to realistic. So these kind of elements. And other thing is, on the way while you were animating, we might have picked up all the bad ways of animating. I did, because it's my self-taught, right? So I have picked up so many bad ways of animating, and I didn't realize that until I joined VFX, to be honest, no, how badly I was animating and how weird, you know, because at some point we are only animating for the cameras and everything is like off balance, you don't really see and realize that, right? So that that thing, I think probably, you know, you should get rid of that habit. I always train my guys to come out of those bad habits, and I pull them back to the good ways. They keep drifting towards the bad habits, I'm just keep pulling them back. So I train them mainly on those areas, like how to animate in 360. It has to balance from 360. Camera is just an element, you know, as you're looking through camera, it's just an aid, that's all. It's not actually, if your creature or animal is, you know, doing the right thing in the right space, so it will work from any camera basically. And it's something what we do most of the time. We animate something and we show the playback to our animation supervisor. He would say like, hey, there's something wrong with this, can I see the witness camera? You know, you go like, that's what, like, holy shit, he asked me witness camera, like I have animated a really bad way, and then you go, you panic, you fix something, and then you show something, right? So instead of that, it's a better to, you know, it took me almost like 2 years to train my brain to animate to 360 degrees, and it will work like a charm. You don't need to sweat at all. all, you know, things will work really. And yeah, that's something I would like to train my guys. And second thing is how to train their eyes to analyze the reference and self-critique your own animation. You have to be, you know, in that position where if you can self-critique your animation, then I'm sure you have passed that, you know, animator to good animator level. You know, we have to butcher our own shot. You can't say, oh, I did really great job, man. I really, it's so cute. I like it, my shot. You know, it's okay for you, but you're gonna put it out there for billions of people to watch it, right? So they have to feel the same way as well, right? So you need to go that extra mile. You know, you got to, like, you know, sit down and see the opportunities where I can add some more elements, some more details to make it even more look realistic. So those are the things I train my guys, and make sure that, you know, they go out of with a great quality. With great ways of animating, good habits of animating, and how to train themselves. Not they're just making something move. They have to understand what is the reason behind something movement, you know, some other movement. What's making, what motivating it, right? So end of the day, if you're doing a shot, it has to get connected with the audience. Anything more than 2 seconds, you can make a connection with an audience. So how can you make the connections? You know, it got to be, you should actually feel the thought process of brain, or, you know, of the animal or the creature. So how can you do that? Like, you know, what motivates that thought, and, you know, how you actually show your audience that, you know, it's actually, you can feel the same way how the creature is feeling as well. So then you'll be successful, you know. So that's what I'm going to train my guys, and yeah, it's something really, you know.
It's awesome.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So I just want to know more about Creature Animation Workshop, like what is the fee structure and which is the software used, and any minute details.
So yeah, so regarding the CAW course structure, so I have designed this course structure for the animators who wants to come into VFX literally. So the course structure is completely based on VFX workflow. So how we actually start the shot from basic blocking to the final polish level, what kind of steps we would follow, and what kind of you know, animation style, you know, based on like different sort of scenarios, like animals or creatures. So creatures can be different, animals can be different, right? So animals is like something, you know, which we follow realistically, you know, from the references. And if it is a creature, it's a combination of 3-4 animals together, you know. For example, if you're seeing a head can be like, you know, a proper you know, a lion, and the body can be, you know, it depends on the creature design. Tail can be crocodile, and, you know, body can be a bit of a rhino. So there are like so many, or ape. So it depends on what kind of creature we animate. So what kind of pipeline we use, what kind of workflow techniques we use, or how we actually analyze the reference, how we bring the essence into the workshop. So that is how I these are the main elements to fit into, you know, the teaching and fit into the course basically. So again, you know, it's again designed into like, you know, 5 segments, where workshop 00 is a kind of a segment where you are actually, when you join as an intern in VFX studios, like what kind of animations you would do for them to show that you are actually able to, you know, do some sort of really good stuff. And then based on that, they'll give you a bit more training, or they actually start giving you the shots, which is workshop 1, simple body mechanics and simple behavior of the creature. And then workshop 2 would be a little bit more complex and little bit more you know, complex behavior kind of you know, thing we need to show in the creature. So that's like a mid-level shot of you know, VFX animator. So workshop 3 is it's like 2 creatures with the complex body mechanics. You know, here we will be dealing with the choreography of the fight sequence or interaction sequence, or friendly. It could be friendly or fight, doesn't matter. It's like interaction between both of the, you know, animals, where they show the power, or, you know, between the creatures also. They, who controls who is the, you know, main guy who is actually on top of, you know, the game, and who is actually destroying the other guy, and how he would react, and how he would actually try to take over this guy, and what kind of interesting choreography we can actually come up with. So those are like, you know, bigger fish to fry than just a body mechanics and dealing with those kind of stuff. So that is workshop 3. And workshop 4 is, this is something close to my heart. I'm trying to bring you know, to the workshop recently. It's like, you know, acting shots, you know, performing shots. So like how you know, talking animals, right, in Jungle Book and in Lion King, or, you know, if you take any, like, you know, Paddington bear talking, like those kind of animals, like Rocket in Marvel, you know, Avengers and Guardians of Galaxy, like how they talk, and, bringing that realistic element to that with the animal behavior on top of it. It's not just a human acting, just making all the shapes and stuff, but how much of animalistic animal elements into it, and how our actually how we can make the animal to speak, like missing purposely some accents and not really pressing every accent like a cartoon or stylized animation. We got to make sure that it goes very well with the behavior of the creature, or animal. So that's my main goal with the workshop 4. And workshop 5 is something like like if you have done like 2 workshops with me, you'll get fit for free if you are or outsider, or if you already have some short working or cooking in your kitchen and you wanted to bring it to polish, and if you need my feedback, I can train you the polish techniques and how to actually polish it, because the polishing is something which everybody ignores and which everybody feels a bit more like, I think I have done a better job, so maybe I should be like, I don't know. Polishing is something that take that shot to next level, where it brings it's gonna be like forever, that kind of
that adds the reality
exactly to the shot. So what actually essential elements to be to be taken care of in the polishing, and what we should be doing, and those kind of elements I'll be teaching on that polishing workshop. So this is about my workshop. And fees is again like it varies from 1150 to 1500 pounds based on which workshop you are taking, and it's almost like I mean, I say 10 weeks, 12 weeks, 14 weeks, but generally mostly it's going to take at least 2.5 months to 3 months for each workshop. And again, I'm not like a typical animation school where like you finished your workshop, now you can get out, your course is done, your batch is done, now you can like, hey, sorry, it's not like that. I always keep in touch with my students, because I tell them that I am here already, like for you guys completely full time, and it's up to you guys how you use me and my knowledge to tweak your shots. So it's like the more you put in, the more you're gonna get out. And again, I say 12 weeks, it never finishes in 12 weeks. I always constantly give them feedback based upon how hungry is the animator, how much you wanted to get out of the workshop. The more you put in, the more you get out, right? So I always like train them even after my workshop. It can go for probably around another 2-3 weeks more, until we felt like it's a really great. We can't make it perfect, nothing is perfect, right? So at least to get the believable and to natural movements, make sure that we have given our enough thing towards it. So basically, like we have given and taken all the opportunities to inject as much as details possible, kind of a level. So that's where I push my guys. Basically, if you see VFX studios like ILM and these guys, they really push it to really great quality, like where you have the muzzle flexes and all the stuff as well. So that's something I really wanted to train my guys, not just understanding the anatomy. Every time you move something, there is some sort of reactions on the body, right, on the muscle movements as well.
Of course.
So I have made the rigs for my students where they can actually practice the muscle movements also. We get quite a good compliment from other people, like saying that, hey, what kind of muscle simulations have you used? It like, no, it's just pure animation. And I wanted to train them what kind of effect of motion, what kind of reactions on the body parts, from planting a leg or head reactions, chest reactions, how it will work like a whole creature, and what kind of reactions will be there on the muscles and the body parts of the body, other parts of the body. So how much they move and how they move, and what is the reason behind it. Like these are the elements I train my guys a lot, and I think you can see that in the work, and I'm really happy.
Of course.
So that is how my workshop has been structured, and that is how my fees is been. Again, it's slightly it has to like I'm giving away all my knowledge what have been accumulated over the years, right? So I'm just giving it away for with the great tools like the rigs I have, because when I started the workshop, people were using some online free rigs or paid rigs, and they were feeling that it was not really supportive. And when I give them comments, they are like spend a lot of time fixing that, and they still not get achievable, desirable results. So then I was like, okay, let me give them actual good rigs for them as well, so that if the rig is better, then model is looking appealing, they're gonna achieve a great results. If some other thing is failed, they can't really get how much our effort or time you put in there, it won't look realistic. That's one thing I really felt sad, and I thought like let's reinvest, like whatever comes into CAW, I just reinvest on the great assets to give them, and it's a tools for them to show off their skills. So that's how I build my animal library. Almost 12 animals are there and 2 creatures are there, and now I'm trying to bring one one more bear with a proper facial controls, like to speak and emote as well. So that's probably in another a week or 2 it will be ready. And then I'm bringing another creature, so dragon. It's
nice.
Yeah, it's something like we had already creature called T-Rex is already there available. And
I have seen those rigs in your website.
Oh yeah, the dragon is now actually available as well. We are doing it's in rigging stage right now. Probably another week or 2 it will be ready, and then it's ready to pick up and animate.
I mean, which is the main software students will be using?
Mostly it's Maya. Mostly because that's something industry standard everywhere right now. Wherever you go, they just use Maya, unless you are using I don't know, man, other motion capture software. But still, the main character animation or creator animation, it's mainly Maya, unless they have any proprietary tool or something.
No problem. What are the specialization roles in animation career? And is there any like a kind of role like creature animator in a company?
Yeah, I mean, like if you see movies like Jungle Book and Lion King, it's completely it's creatures only, right? So basically, it's like it's another form of calling VFX animator, basically, I think. And again, if you are actually doing VFX animation, it could be like live action with the combination of live action plates, like working with the digidoubles and realistic cars chases. That's again a VFX animator as well. You can call them. But again, if you're working on animals or creatures, then probably you could actually call them as a creature animator. And if you're dealing with animals like throughout your career, then probably you would call as a creature animator, I think. But if you see the movies like Jungle Book and The Lion King and heavily, they're all VFX movies, but I make sure like they look like realistic animals and creatures talking, right? So that's when you can call it.
Generally, as an outside audience, I always thought like, okay, an animator who is an artist who has to do all kind of animations. So after seeing your workshop, I got to know, okay, there is a specific role like creature animator.
Okay, I see. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, so basically like animation is like it could be anywhere, right? It could be like it can start from TV series animator and DVD movies animator and animated feature, like all the Pixar and DreamWorks movies and Blue Sky Studios, right? So there's a separate thing called VFX. It's not really separate, but it's like work with live action basically. It's not completely CG, but sometimes you do get complete CG shots, like everything is like environment and characters, everything is CG as well. So the VFX animation is something is something close to realism, right? So we have to make sure it looks more realistic as possible, and they're going to bring in some talking animals these days, so that's like it's a creature animation basically. So and again, VFX animation is something quite hard to get in there as well, because the amount of details goes into it, the quality, right? That's why the recruitment process is really strict and picky. They always see for that quality animators who actually understands the whole scenario of going that extra mile and adding those details and make it more believable. So that's why slightly difficult, but it's not like it's not achievable, but it's just that like you need a little bit of more time and passion and love towards it to showcase your skills, so that you can get selected, and that's the criteria. But there's so many different it's like mainly it's animation only, but it's like specially a skilled niche, like particular,
it's a kind of a specialization.
Exactly. Definitely, you can say that.
So like is there any websites, books, blogs or YouTube channels you would like to suggest to the audience?
Well, I think, but to be honest, there is nothing to be suggestion. So if you are looking for a reference wise, probably there are so many, websites like Shutterstock, BBC Clips, and there's Pond5, Framepool. There's so many other websites where you can actually pick up the reference for animals and stuff. Like you can actually search them. They're really great collection. And Pond5 is really good, and Shutterstock, and there's some really green screen animals. Rhino House, I haven't personally used it, but companies had a bit of account with them, and they're really good as well. But again watching documentaries and so those kind of websites I can recommend. But YouTube definitely, yes, it was a huge help on making these kind of movies, right? Like picking up the animal reference from particular and then edit them and try to put them all the clips together. And so YouTube is a really Vimeo is a really great place. But any particular channels, I'm not really sure, because Websites, these things are the website like Pond5 and other stuff. But books, I'm not really sure about.
And even you have a website. I mean, even you have a YouTube channel, right? Where you constantly share your webinars and all these things.
There's we recently came into YouTube. It was earlier only Vimeo, but right now probably I'm just spreading my wings to YouTube as well, and trying to make it show as much of showcase our skills and our student works in there, and webinars as well. Please,
we'll share the link in the description. So anyone wants to check it out, like I will share that link in the description. So my next question is like, what do you think about the future of animation industry? Like now, because of this COVID and all these things, people are working from home. So what are all the challenges or benefits according to you, like from working from home?
That's it have its own challenges, to be honest, but again, future of animation industry right now, I think it's been a bit slowed down because everything with the VFX is actually connected with the plates, right? So the shootings have been stopped, and I had one of my friend who was actually heading a previous, he mentioned that it's very difficult right now to go to the studio and actually work with the director because of the rules and regulations of the government. So it's actually slowed down a bit, but I'm sure when these rules are gonna go, when the COVID is going to go away after the vaccination, I think they're going to be like a big, huge wave of work coming into the market, and they want to finish everything what is in the pending. But there are actually other movies are still happening, but maybe they might be in a slow process, I think. But since I'm in a break right now, I'm not really in touch with the work, like in the movies work at least, working from home, I always like working from home, and it's like you can actually control your time between your family, and everybody have different views. They say like there is no there is no line right now, it's just the family or work, there's a bit of a the line is really thin, it seems. Some people complain, do that, but I don't know, I keep I keep myself like really away from the personal thing. Like daytime I spend with my family, and the evenings and the late nights till 5 o'clock 4 o'clock I just work on my stuff uninterruptedly, and I'm okay with it. But and again, if family supports you, obviously you can actually isolate yourself for like 3 hours, but I think it comes with its own challenges, right? But I'm happy that VFX industry has actually adopted working from home. Back then it was really difficult, isn't it? Like nobody was because of security reasons, isn't it? Like
it was kind of a dream.
Thanks to Corona and COVID for this, in this situation.
And right now we have the technology in our hands to support work from home, so we should be grateful.
True. It's a one good thing of this one, COVID thing.
So like now there are a lot of trending things in internet. One of that is Unreal Engine. So I just want to know your opinion about like can you rate Maya, Blender, Unreal out of 5 and why?
Right.
It's kind of a weird question, but I know. I know it's kind of a weird question.
So far I have been worked only with Maya. I'm not really sure if I'm an eligible person to talk about Blender and Unreal. But Unreal, recently I have worked with one of my artists who actually did lighting for my student works, and he did a fantastic job with it. And that's when I realized, like I was asking about all the Unreal and how is the workflow and all the techniques and stuff. It's really flexible, Unreal is, but Blender, I'm really sorry, I have like zero knowledge, so I don't want to comment anything on that one. But Unreal is something I'm looking forward to have some more animations, lighting and rendering in Unreal, some of my workshop shots actually. So basically there are some other lighting artists and other journalist guys who are using Unreal Engine and wanted to bring help our students to make reels as well. So these guys can make the lighting and Unreal Engine reel, and our students get lighting for free. It's a really win-win situation for both the artists, and I'm really happy to connect them, and they can actually grow together that way. So
cool, nice. So my next question is like as I told, like we have a lot of advancements in the technology right now. So what do you think about the recent technology advancements, like all this AI and automation tools? For at least in VFX there are a lot of tools coming, and I don't know much about animation. So what do you think about that automation and all these AI things?
Right. To be honest, I have very less knowledge about AI and stuff. I am just only good with the creature animation. That's on animals basically. But yeah, you mean you have quite a right now quite a good advanced tools. Like I've seen other studios where I've worked with. They have developed quite a good technologies where they can actually use this technology and make sure that they shoot in the right way, interacting with the creatures and stuff. So that is something which actually wow me. Like when I watched it, it's really always hard. When you're actually trying to put a creature and a character, sorry, a live action and a creature together in interaction and stuff. And with these tools and with this, AI, kind of a software, where they're really, what do you call, they can see through the screens where actually a character, live action actors are actually interacting with the animals. And I was like, oh, okay, this is probably the next, stage, I think, where everybody is going to be really clear, and there won't be of course, even after planning so much, there will be always some problem in movie making, actors acting and adding the creature there, make sure they both interacting very well. But they have its own challenges. But I think it's making really good advancements, to be honest. But I'm not really sure.
I know, I saw some apps and all in iPhone which are able to generate real-time mocap animation. So
okay, yeah, the mocap is something actually, and again it's what do you call it, there's so many advanced tools and techniques right now. I think when we did work on, I didn't, to be honest, have much of motion capture experience overall. I did have on Ready Player One, in which I have done most of the Megodzilla and Iron Giant fight sequence and the dance sequence or the gravity, so I didn't actually have much of experience on that movie apart from one shot. But Aladdin, I had quite a good experience with the mocap on Will Smith body capture and facial capture as well. So I've seen some raw captures coming in. Oh my god, that's like a beautiful, you have every details and every nuances in there, and you just need to bit of a tweak, and then you apply, it would work amazingly well, really working.
Nice.
I was actually shocked to see that things are really advancing so much, and it's helped to animation industry. And again, people keep saying oh, the motion capture is coming and we're going to lose our jobs. No, I think motion capture is not going to clean itself. You need animators to do that, right? So of course,
the same hype is there.
You like the mocap or not, it's a different thing to animate or to clean up, but it's not going to clean itself. But we need some animators to put them in there and then try to make it work in the shot, right?
Yeah, same hype is there in the compositing kind of role. After this virtual production kind of things, results are coming directly from the set. So we don't know what is going to happen in the future.
Right.
So let's prepare for that. That's all we can do.
No, there will have some advancement tools, and where you need to know operate the tools as well. So you need to have that knowledge and software skills as well.
Yeah.
So they'll be adopting those things into a workflow, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
So my final question is can you share some of your success mantras or tips to be a better artist? I know you have a lot of tricks and all. So
no, man, there is no tricks, there is no shortcuts, there is no mantras. It's just only, I believe in hard work, and we just have to give a lot of reasons why we didn't do it. We should probably stop doing. I really I really don't want to comment why I didn't do it. I just want to do it and show it. And I have a bad habit of saying things out loud even before I started, so that people can actually expect from me. And then I committed to them, so I can't chicken out after that. No, I have to do it. So that's any good thing I'm starting soon in a week, I'm just gonna let that go, to all my friends in the pub and lunch and dinners. I'm just gonna say it out loud that people would actually. So yeah, try that one. If you say you are gonna do some animation, just say it out loud, and then you are bounded to do it, and it's gonna do only good for you, right? It's not gonna be any bad things to you. And other thing is, I always believe I wanted my work to speak for myself or my students. I think we are an artist, right? We speak very less. We wanted our work to speak for us basically. So that's what is gonna go to the building first, and that's what gonna get you the call to the building. So it has to be the work. You have to showcase your skill, and again the demo reel or something, which is whatever is in here, you just have to make sure that successfully you transmitted all your skills and you showcase that in your reel. So many people are so busy with other works and working for other companies, or they really hate their jobs, in the companies, but they still work for it. But and they fail to showcase their skills. Like I would say, every 3 months to 6 months, if it is a movies, like they're gonna release every 6 months once, or like it's gonna take 1 year. But at least personal stuff is something really I would like to push here, because every time we see personal stuff really working well in the reel, we would really think that that person is a great addition to our team. Because if you see a professional shot, it could be inputs of your lead, your supervisor, client side VFX soup, and client side animation director, the director. So many people are going to give you input, right? If you can do that kind of a same quality shot, a personal shot, without having so many inputs, and it's all you, that would be a fantastic thing to show off in your reel. And this is what we would see when we see the reels. Okay, this guy is a really great addition to the team, and he could actually help us. That's what I always believe. Like people doesn't make company doesn't make people. Artists make companies, so and again, those companies are really particular about picking right people, right guys, right artists, like who actually showcase their skills really well. Sometimes people always feel bad that, oh, I never get called from this company, they never, they always ignore me, they never reply me. Like, no, it's not their problem. It's like basically we fail to show our skills and what we are capable. We fail to show in our showcase. So it's our fault. Like I would say, try to keep a habit of updating your reel every 3 to 6 months once. If not, official shots, add some personal shots. Find that find that right balance. Keep updating. That's one thing. And I would say, if you're doing any animation, any shot, it doesn't matter, creature or character, I would say plan your shot very well. It's gonna save a lot of time in overall long run. If you can save your shot, keep your asset ready, keep your characteristics ready, keep your shot plan, previous it, block it, try to play with the ideas and make sure everything is working ready for you, and all the including the reference and stuff. And then you start animation. It's gonna be like walk in the park. It's gonna get it done really quickly. If you think it's okay, I'll figure it out while on the go, there are few things you can do that, but not the whole shot. That's gonna put you in a bad shape, and then you won't finish it. At some point you will feel with you're gonna kick yourself from such a bad animator. I can't even do this shot. You're gonna end up with a bad thing. So that's what I recommend everybody, plan your shot. For me, 90% of thing is planning, and then everybody knows animation, 10% of it is animation. So that's what I always believe. And I think another thing is do not underestimate your personal shots. A personal shot is what actually saved me and saving my ass till now, from the beginning of my VFX career, even from my animation career, to be honest, from the beginning. So even recently, after I did one Hulk and T-Rex short fight sequence where it went really viral, and it's really millions of views on top of it. So nice. I have been getting calls from VFX industry just by that shot. Nice. Literally, I got into MPC, Framestore, DNEG, ILM just by that shot. I'm really happy that I had that shot planned. I did actually had a chance to do that shot, and even that, even after 7 years, my animation supervisor called me when I was on Transformers. He called me and he said, he's Matthew Wick, by the way, so he's gonna listen sometime, or maybe not. So he actually called me and he said, hey, you are gonna finish in Transformers probably in another week or two, and you will be coming to our project Ready Player One. And we're good to have you. And I'm like, okay, I hope you're giving me some good shots. And he says, I remember your Hulk and T-Rex sequence, right? So similar stuff, I'm gonna give you the fight sequence. So nice. I was like, that's beginning of my career, and I have done Jungle Book, Avengers, and so many other Fantastic Beasts, and there's so many other stuff I have done, but he has not remembered anything. He just still remember my personal work 6-7 years back. So that is the power, a personal shot will have, and that is the impact, it represents you. People might forget your name, but people won't forget that shot, even after 6 years, when I meet somebody in the pub, new guy, oh, you are the Hulk and T-Rex guy. Come on, man, I really like the shot, So people greet me like that. So that's how I would ask everybody to follow and remembered by your work, not by name. So that's something, really nice thing, and it actually builds your career as well, so that I do remember the 3 months of struggle on that shot, but it actually paid me off all these years, So please, do not underestimate your personal work, and just don't look down on that one. So it won't be nice. And
Beautiful.
I think those things, I think probably.
Yeah, beautiful actually to listen all these things from you.
And one more thing, this is something before I came into VFX industry. We are a group of people, we tried to get a VFX job, and Oliver and James and other guys, we are all gaming animators back then. So we had this kind of a thing going on between us, animate 1 hour a day. It actually changed my life literally, thanks to those guys. So I'm just passing this, behalf of them. Animate 1 hour a day. It really helps you, so you don't need to start something. Everybody starts something big, like Lord of the Rings fight sequence and stuff, but they end up like oh, I didn't get the time, and like you never get the time, right? It's always, life is never easy, life is always challenges, isn't it? So but if you can squeeze 1 hour a day, and then you sit down and do something little bit, and then that gives you more inspiration, and you actually see yourself progressing. That 1 hour could go for 1.5 or 2 hours every day. You try to see yourself that you're progressing very well and you're really enjoying it, and then you're going to do more than an hour. So that's how within 6 months to 1 year, or at least 6 months, or let's say 8 months, you will have at least 3-4 shots ready for your reel. You don't need to sit down and do anything special. You just start like that, and I'm sure without a sweat you'll have a great shots in your reel. That's something I really followed, and I really enjoy doing it as well. So
So yep, thank you for this time, Danu, and I really appreciate this. I will add all those description to contact you if anyone wants to join the workshop or to know more about your workshop. So I wish you all the best for the future success and everything.
Thank you.
So
it's a really nice pleasure and to talk to you, Manoj. I'm really happy that actually this is quite a good medium for me to at least share my skills and at least like my thoughts to audience. And thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, see you then.
Cheers, buddy. See you. Bye.
Yeah.